I got a warm seat. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyabhadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Some devotees are just now arriving, trickling in from here and there, and we have quite an international assembly here. I'm sure there's some countries not represented, but we're doing a pretty good job. So, what you see on the screen is the cover image of Sri Brahma Samhita. And the cover image of Sri Brahma Samhita is depicting Lord Brahma receiving Gayatri from, in Bhaktisiddhanta's language, the flute song of Krishna. If you look closely at the diagram, there's something going into the ear of Lord Brahma, and the source of that, what's going into the ear of Lord Brahma, is Krishna's flute. And by hearing Krishna's flute, what came out of his mouth was Gayatri Mantra. And by the meditation of these two mantras, one from the primordial Saraswati, as opposed to the wife of Lord Brahma, who is by the same name, but the original, the Swarup Shakti of the Supreme Lord, Saraswati, those two mantras together resulted in his becoming well acquainted with the ocean of truth. So the connection is, by hearing of mantra, the potency, the potential is there to become well acquainted with the ocean of truth. Or, by the process of bhakti, causelessly, knowledge and detachment arise from within. And what I thought to do was spend a little bit of extra time on this one verse from just preceding the Chatur Sloki, the four essential verses of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken by the personality of Godhead to Lord Brahma prior to creation, so that he could understand how to perform creation and the necessary transcendental knowledge, along with the rest of the technology of how you build the universe. So in this phrase, in verse 31 of chapter 9, canto 2, there's the phrase sa rahasyam. Sa rahasyam. And this is where this term mystery comes from. That is, which is very confidential, that which is secret, as in confidential, and that which is pure devotional service. And pure devotional service that arises from hearing and chanting It's a mystery. And that's what we're going to be discussing. Now, by tomorrow morning, Krishna's kind, that if it happens, tomorrow morning I'll be sending to Nrsinga Maharaj a little document that gives various explanations, researched explanations of Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. So I did a little bit here on the screen. Here is Srila Prabhupada's writing from Mukundamala Stotra. And here Prabhupada is giving this explanation. As Lord Chaitanya said, or says, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, chanting Hare Krishna is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. It really simplifies a lot. Chanting Hare Krishna is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. Very simple. There's another reference in a Bhagavad Gita class. Srila Prabhupada gave this definition, and there's multiple other references like this. Vidya Vadhu Jivana means full knowledge. Repeat, full knowledge. And chanting is a reservoir of knowledge. Chanting is chanting, and embedded within chanting, Vidya Vadhu Jivanam, the reservoir of knowledge. Something that you saw already in relation to Shikshastaka number 1 is this last verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam that addresses a little bit our topic. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom, that's the holy name, relieves all material suffering. So these are benefits or byproducts or consequences of congregational chanting of the holy name. And here's a very nice statement, two very nice statements of amongst multiple you'll see shortly. Bhaktisiddhanta writes, Harikatha is the Swarup Shakti of Harinam. Just as Krishna is properly worshipped not alone, but with his Swarup Shakti, Sri Radha, recitation of Hari Nam is incomplete and improper unless accompanied by hearing Hari Katha. So as Radha goes with Krishna, Hari Katha goes with Hari Nam. Together, they're worshipped together. Or this is taken from a letter that he wrote. By service to the holy name, now the emphasis is on service to, we do not mean only the chanting of the holy name. It also includes the other duties of the chanter. If we serve the holy name with the body, mind, and soul, then the direction of that service spontaneously manifests like the sun in the clear sky of the chanter's heart, meaning the clear sky, that not namabhas, but shuddhanam. He didn't spell all that out, but using this nice explanation that we've been hearing about namabhas, that's the meaning. Now, since reference was made already to the final verse of Canto 12, here's a nice verse that introduces the topic of bhakti rasa, the bhakti rasa that comes from performance of bhakti, the taste, or in the word for word, as well as in the translation. This rasa, one of the direct meanings is juice, just as juice has taste. Like there's mango juice, or there's pineapple juice, or orange juice, and something is sweet and something is sour and something is this. And so different taste, although they're all juice, so they're different rasas, and therefore different juices, like different juices. Or mellow, another meaning of the word rasa that Prabhupada often uses. Mellow, taste, juice. So let's say the verse together. It's a nice verse. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam sukha mukhad amrita davya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam mahor aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. So nigama means scripture. Nigama, scripture. And scripture is like a kalpataro, a desire tree. And on the desire tree, or any tree, there's something that you particularly value from that tree, and that's the phala, or the fruit that grows from the tree. And this Bhagavatam is nigama, is a desire tree that produces the ripened fruits, galitam palam, the ripened fruit of the desire tree. Of the Vedas is the desire tree. That is, whatever it is that one desires, one can get that desire fulfilled, or understand how a desire can be fulfilled through the whole range of the Vedas, material, spiritual. But the ripened fruit, that's this Bhagavatam. And it's tasted, sukha amrita drava samyutam. It's especially relishable because the amrita, the nectar, is tasted by Shukadeva Goswami. Nice explanation. Prabhupada gives this explanation. Supposing you have a mango, you can offer it to Krishna, so don't think too much about the mango without offering it to Krishna. But when it's made soft, then a ripened mango made soft, then the juice is very sweet. I don't know if you've done this, but it's something. Those who visit Mayapur know. You take the ripened mango, offer it to Krishna. The skin is tight, but you soften the skin, and then you can drink the juice right through the skin. Very sweet. Very sweet. So similarly, the beak of Shuka, the parrot, makes the mango soft. And so it's already sweetened, and it's already made more sweet by the beak of the parrot, Sukadeva Goswami. And therefore, it's already sweet becomes more sweet. And then there's this rasa, or juice. And it's Bhagavata rasam, or in relation to Bhagavan, it's rasa, very tasty, very juicy. And those who are rasikas, they especially enjoy. But even ordinary people, especially liberated souls, relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here's the translation. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadev Goswami, therefore, the fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So this is a very important verse, the first 3 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, amongst many verses. It's in a category of special verses because it's just do 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 do. It's announcing coming attractions. The whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam is do 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 do, has these qualifications, and very, very special qualifications indeed. And from the very beginning, Vyasadeva, the author, compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, is advertising, informing us that there's Bhagavat Rasa or Bhakti Rasa within Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's filled from the very beginning. And then this verse that we're identifying as, revealing the mystery, has this phrase, sa rahasyam. So this is Krishna, Sri Bhagavan, speaking to Lord Brahma, because Brahma had a number of questions that were asked in preceding verses. You'll see the list of questions and their verse number. And this is the first response. And Bhagavan is announcing to Lord Brahma that the Parama Guyam, most confidential knowledge, is going to be described. I'll read the translation. The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential. Parama Guyam, very confidential. And it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. So in conjunction with devotional service, in the word for word is sa rahasyam, because it's confidential. So it's sa rahasyam. But sa rahasyam means the mystery is it must be realized in conjunction with devotional service. Say it negatively. Without devotional service, without the mood of being the servant, using the senses to serve the master of the senses, without that mood in the seat of consciousness of the soul, the self-conception of being, I am meant to be the servant of the Supreme, that's who I am, and then the details of rasa come further from that starting point. And in conjunction with devotional service, it's meant to be realized. So there's knowledge and there's realization. Jnana and Vijnana. Srila Prabhupada used these two terms in this way, theoretical and practical. Vijnana is the realized knowledge. Samanvitam, the necessary paraphernalia for that process, is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. So in commentary, this necessary paraphernalia is summarized by the phrase tad angam. Tad angam. Tad angam. So that's explained by Sridhar Swami, you'll see in a moment. That's sadhana bhakti. So there's prema bhakti and there's sadhana bhakti. And the realization is prema bhakti and the practice is sadhana bhakti. So it's necessary paraphernalia for that process of achieving prema bhakti. Please take it up carefully. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about this particular verse as follows. Sripad Sridhar Swami eloquently explains in his commentary that the word rahasyam, or secret, here refers to pure devotional service. Secret. Shh. It's a secret. Everybody can hear it, and it still remains a secret because it's that kind of knowledge. Unless one is a devotee, then it remains unknown what's going on. Tarangam refers to sadhana bhakti. So both prema bhakti, or pure devotional service, and sadhana bhakti are mentioned in this verse. How is this secret described in the passage beginning, this is Bhaktivinoda's writing, is best understood, how the secret is best understood? The Supreme Personality of Godhead teaches the method of understanding it in the following verse. So a few verses later comes verse number 36. And in the Sanskrit of verse number 36, there's this word etavat, etavat. And etavat is translated as up to this. What does that mean, up to this? Up to prema bhakti. From sadhana up to the final stage, prema bhakti. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must, Bhagavan feature, must certainly search for it up to this, up to the stage of prema, or the sa rahasyam, in all circumstances, in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, he states that what Krishna is saying is, it's so confidential that those that are not devotees won't understand it. And even if you're a devotee, it's not easy to understand, frankly. Even with commentary, it's packed. And it takes a lot to unpack the pact. The subtle meanings within. How do you understand? How is someone to understand something that's beyond the comprehension of the mind and intelligence? How are you to understand it? Well, you won't understand it, except through poetic expression, and then something that you do know. It's like something that you do know, but it's not the something that you do know because it's beyond the something that you do know, but it's like this. You're directionally like this. And so the poetry, then the poet that's composing has to have the power to reveal to the qualified student what the poetry is, what it's referring to, because it's beyond our senses and mind and intelligence. To be able to disclose that there's a potency of the speaker. In the case of Shukadeva Goswami, it's a very nice explanation. After compiling Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of Narada to do so, and the instruction of Narada was sit in trance of meditation, which he did, and then there's another set of verses of what he realized. And from what he realized came Srimad Bhagavatam. But after compiling and composing 18,000 verses, Vyasadeva was anxious to find a qualified student who he could explain it to and that could actually understand it. And it turns out it was his son. So it was really keen. Vyasadeva was very keen to have a qualified student. And it was his son. And his son got up and ran away. Shucks. But how did he capture him? He recited some verses. He sent students to go find Shukadev somewhere out there in the forest. And by reciting verses from the Bhagavatam, Shukadev became attracted. And they brought him back to the ashram, and he sat at the feet of Vyas and learned Srimad Bhagavatam from Vyas. And then when Shukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva was sitting at the feet of his student, because the rasika nature of Shukadev Goswami was such that even the author was appreciating the sweetness with which the recitation produced rasa, Bhagavat rasa. Even liberated souls were relishing, what to speak of everybody else. And commentary, this is now, again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In this verse, the word Atmanaha means of me. So here's the Atmanaha. Atmanaha. Tattva Jigyasunatmanaha. Of me. So Krishna is saying, this knowledge is knowledge of me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tattva Jigyasuna means desiring to understand the secret of pure love. So this verse, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is explaining how the sa rasika, sa rahasya can be understood, how that which is mysterious can be understood through an eagerness to understand the absolute truth, hearing from the right person. Jigyasyun means may be learned from the spiritual master. Avyaya Vyatikabhyam Vratirekabhyam means with the instruction to do certain acts and refrain from certain acts. So follow vidhis and avoid nishedas. And that's necessary. This should be done in all circumstances, at all space and time. So that's the verse. It's the how-to verse. Maybe instead of just when people ask how to, I'll just refer them to this verse. Instead of saying sadhu sangha, because this is what sadhus do. Now, I'm going to spend a little bit more time to equate how it works. This up to this was etavat, is a replacement for sa rahasyam. They're up to this. Sa means to pure devotional service. Here is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of this word rahasya, sa rahasya. And he writes, prema is well known as rahasyam. That's certainly confidential. How many people understand truly what prema bhakti is? I mean, they have an idea what material love is, but prema bhakti is in another category. Then I will explain. This is the statement of the verse. What is intimate or rahasyam? Prema bhakti. What is intimate? Namely, prema bhakti. What is rahasya? Prema bhakti. So Sridhar Swami says it means pure devotional service, and Vyasa and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is taking it a little further, pure devotional service, in his way of viewing things. It's prema bhakti, pure devotional service. Now, pure devotional service has other definitions in prema bhakti, but as far as that's the ultimate, penultimate goal of pure devotional service, or the mature fruit. So sarahasyam. And the sa part, he indicates down here. Realize prema bhakti. So it's not just theoretical, it's realization. Krishna is instructing, I'm not going to give you the theory, I'm going to give you the realization of prema bhakti. And that realization includes knowledge of my form. That's the sa rahasyam. So this step back, what are we doing? We're looking closely at a verse that's in a very important verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, this section of verses, the Chatur Sloki verses, that are a little confidential, or a little mysterious, or a little secret, and how to understand the secret or the confidentialness of what the Bhagavatam is revealing. What Krishna revealed to Lord Brahma, he then instructed Lord Brahma not only to build the universe, but to disseminate this knowledge. But you have to have the right ear, or the right heart, the right consciousness, to be able to receive prema bhakti. So there's the sadhana of it, and there's the mature stage of it, the sadhya stage. So built into this little verse, the two verses, 31 and 36, that's both devotional service and the mature stage. Here's a concluding section of Vishwanath's commentary on this verse. By mention of prema and sadhana bhakti, it should be understood that the Lord also teaches about chanting the name of the Lord, which is explained in the first canto, and which is more secret and more excellent than the most secret knowledge of the Lord's forms. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a Rasika Bhakta. What does that mean? He's a relisher. He's a Rasika Bhakta. He's a relisher of rasa. And he knows it inside and out, and that's, from my experience and reading his commentaries on almost anything, minimally, the topic of rasa enters into his commentary. That's how he experiences things, how he sees things, how he explains things. He's a Rasika Bhakta. So he understands it. He lives it. That's the place where he lives, is Bhakti Rasa. And in this Bhakti Rasa spirit, he's commenting on this verse that the Lord is also revealing about the holy name. The chanting of the holy name. It's not explicit, it's implicit. But he's a Rasika Bhakta, and he understands it, he feels it, he's explaining it. All the way from the first canto, and then again to the very last verse of the 12th canto, the chanting of the holy name, which is more secret and more excellent than the most secret knowledge of the Lord's forms. I like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I like his commentaries. I like getting excited about how he explains things. And Bhaktisiddhanta does the same thing in his own style. Here's some references from Bhaktisiddhanta. By chanting without offense, you will personally realize that all perfections come from the holy name. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta was particularly known for his scholarship. He was known as a walking encyclopedia about anything. And of that anything, all perfections come from the holy name. I mean, he certainly did his holy name vrata, as you all know. 64 times 3 rounds a day for 8 or 9 years. Every day. He matched Haridas Thakur. It was out of this world. Bhaktisiddhanta, consciousness, and scholarship. So here's more. Through chanting, the distinction that exists between the self and the gross and subtle bodies is gradually effaced. What's effaced means? Effaced means, like a very simple way to describe effaced, is supposing you have an old coin. And the old coin rubbing against other old coins, the features become effaced. It becomes just metal, and not the distinctions are less and less and less. As metal coin becomes effaced, so the heart can become effaced of the making a distinction between the self and the gross and subtle bodies. And one realizes one's own spiritual form. Once aware of the spiritual body, as one continues to chant, one sees the transcendental nature of the Lord's form, sa rahasyam. That's a mystery. And it's interesting to read it. And which one amongst us is going to go there and join Bhaktisiddhanta in Sarahasyam? Or only the holy name reveals the spiritual form of the living being and then causes him to be attracted to Krishna's form. Same message, one more time. Only the holy name reveals the spiritual qualities of the living being and then causes him to be attracted to Krishna's qualities, first form and then qualities. Only the holy name reveals the spiritual activities of the living being and then causes him to be attracted to Krishna's pastimes. So continuing in the same purport, this is again Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In the present verse, that says 9:931. In this present verse, the Lord has promised to answer in order the 4 questions asked by Brahma with 4 verses. So he goes through and identifies the questions. 26, he asked about the spiritual and material forms of the Lord. Spiritual and material forms of the Lord. He has only spiritual forms. But then Lord Brahma has to build the universe. And what does Lord Brahma get the opportunity to envision or to meditate upon to build the universe is the form of the universe. He gets a model, Virat Rup, the universal form. He meditates on the universal form before building one. In verse 27, he asks about Maya and yoga. Maya. verse 27. In verse 28, he asked how the Lord carries out pastimes in relation to Maya and Yoga Maya pastimes in the spiritual and the material realm. In verse 29, he asked for instructions for attaining his desired goal. Now, his desired goal wasn't just to build the universe. That's a service that he did, but that wasn't his desired goal. So, prema bhakti, how to attain prema bhakti. So then the answer comes in this verse 31. It's part of the mystery, and he's going to reveal the mystery, the medium of through the medium of devotional service, and his form, the Lord's form, and theoretical and practical and full realization. Lord Brahma is very, very qualified. During the discussion, the first verse of Shikshastaka, twice reference was made to Nachiketa being so qualified that which Yamaraj, one of the 12 Mahajans, was reluctant to disclose, when he started disclosing, he understood how qualified his student was. There's a detail. Remember this explanation? He was given 3 wishes. Remember that? Say yes or no. Yes, okay. When I returned back, my father he gave up his anger because he was angry. He is respectful to his father, although his father said, "Go to hell. I'll give you to Yamaraj. Go to hell." So he'll give up his anger. Then you'll please teach me the particular yagya so I can achieve the spiritual world. They can achieve liberation. And the third one is just a philosophy question. Does the soul exist after the body? I mean, the answer is very simple, but Yamaraj gave him a thorough answer. But when he started teaching him the yagya, he said, I'll give you a 4th benediction. The fire of this yagya will now be known by your name. It's Nachiketa Agni, the fire that brings liberation, the fire for the sacrifice that brings liberation will be known by your name. There's the 4th one. So when there's a good student, it's quite natural that a qualified teacher feels encouraged, and things that may not be understood so easily in a general audience as students, special instruction is given to such a qualified person. And therefore it's really nice it's really nice to read Srila Prabhupada's personal lessons to very qualified persons who got the opportunity to be in close proximity of him, and then he disclosed things. Now, there were cases of people that got close to Prabhupada, and they had a problem because they couldn't, and they didn't see Prabhupada in the proper way. And so they started familiarity breeds contempt. The familiarity program caused them a problem, and they fell, or they desisted, or something. They went away. They made offense. And even when, just like Nrsimha Maharaj mentioned, Prabhupada might say, I will not deal with them, but he could never. There's many nice stories like that. I'll tell one Prabhupada story. I'm going to end so we can go to our discussion. There was a devotee in New York named Rishi Kumar, one of the early devotees, Rishi Kumar. Most of us didn't get to know him because he went away before we were around, but when he was around, he did a lot. And but in that familiarity with Prabhupada, he started criticizing Prabhupada. And then a situation arose where Prabhupada was going to visit New York, and he made a request that Rishi Kumar would cook for him. And Prabhupada was advised, I don't think it's a good idea. You sure you want him to cook for you? He's criticizing you. And, his consciousness is not good. And Prabhupada brushed it aside and wanted him to cook for him. And, it helped pick Rishi Kumar up out of the criticism mode. He still continued and had his difficulty and went away. So it's not everybody that had close association with Prabhupada really made the best of it. There's some persons it hurt because they weren't, there's weakness within, and the weakness came out. I'm pausing because I'm thinking of some other examples, and I'm reluctant to go into the other examples. But I witnessed it firsthand. Intimate association, very valuable service, very qualified persons, getting Prabhupada's direct association, and then going away. Considering their weakness. Shrutakirti told, and one more Prabhupada story. Shrutakirti told a nice story during this festival in Boston, Prabhupada's arrival, the 60th anniversary of his arrival in the Boston Harbor. And Shrutakirti told a little story, anecdotal story. Besides he's a good storyteller, he picks really good stories because there's volumes, and he doesn't make a big deal about it, but there's volumes. So he said there was a Sanskrit person who was being requested to engage in some service to help Prabhupada, something to do with it, his translation work, something. And it wasn't Pradyumna, it was somebody else. So the person went to another room, and then he had to come see Prabhupada. Shrutakirti was staying with Prabhupada. He had to come in and ask a question. He paid obeisances twice, thrice. The fourth time, he didn't. He just did one of these in front of Srila Prabhupada. He asked his question, left, and Prabhupada said, his fall down has begun. And sure enough, that's what happened. So just by that little simple procedure, and Shrutakirti said, in the course of my service, hundreds of times daily, come before Prabhupada, pay obeisances. No, that's our founder Acharya, but there's an etiquette. And neglecting the etiquette by familiarity, that's the beginning of their fall down. And sure enough, that's what happened. So there's other examples I'm not prepared to share right now, but their etiquettes are to be observed. Like as Maharaj has been describing very nicely, sadhus are to be respected. And who's a sadhu? And then, so we have nice definitions. There's ranges of sadhus, but they're to be respected. The Brahmana is to be respected. When Nachiketa went to the home of Yamaraj, and Yamaraj was not in town or not in the home, his wife was in big anxiety because of the due respect that goes to a Brahmana. If she made even a slight mistake, could be havoc. So respecting a Brahmana that had come to her home, she wanted to serve him very nicely, or as opposed to casually, because persons that are to be respected are to be respected. And when respect diminishes, it's the age of Kali. And people have problems. And then, we have problems in relationships. And how to restore proper conduct starts with proper respect. Commensurate, as Maharaj was explaining so nicely, commensurate with their position. But it's fundamental is respect. Commensurate with the criterion that a cultured person will perform and observe and carry it inside and display it outside. It starts inside. Culture. Okay. So the topic that I wanted to speak about, we'll go back to the beginning. Is how through mantra meditation, the most confidential of all confidential understandings can be accessed. And naturally so. But, the same as Shikshastika, Chaita, Darpana, that in sequence, everything unfolds. The potential is there for everything to unfold, provided, we chant attentively and don't chant inattentively. Because inattentively is good, it's abas, but, it won't, it's going to be a slow journey to reach the goal. And in between, we can make a mess here and there, and unintentionally perhaps, but, step on somebody's toes or be neglectful of proper respect. Even when they say ouch. And they may not even say ouch. They may just expect to get their toes stepped on. And it happens. So starts with the proper attention with the chanting of the holy name, and that being attentive to the holy name helps one. It gives the spiritual strength to be attentive to all other features of our devotional service. And again, this message of Bhakti Siddhanta that the Swarup Shakti is worshipped along with Hari, not separately. Any comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I'm still kind of trying to understand what we discussed today. In one of the slides where you showed about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's slides that chanting reveals first the living entity's spiritual form and then Nam, Rupa, Guna, or then Krishna's form. So I am thinking, so that means first living entity's form will be revealed and then Krishna's form. And then I'm trying to think, Shiksha Ashtakam deals from sadhana bhakti to prema bhakti. And it does not talk about Krishna's Nam, Roop, Guna, Leela. I'm still trying to think in that direction. So, does that make any?
I'm waiting for you to formulate the punchline. I'm hearing
Yes.
you're seeking verification of what you've understood. Is that what you're doing?
Kind of. So then the thing I'm trying to see is then why Shiksha Ashtakam does not talk about, if Shiksha Ashtakam gives us a pathway from sadhana to prema bhakti,
Yeah.
but it does not talk about Krishna's Nam, Roop, Guna, Leela, or living entities, spiritual form, because that is the first to be revealed, then Krishna's form.
Well, three things. Put the microphone down. Second thing. You missed an important part in what he has written, and that is the effacing of this distinction. There is a distinction, but the effacing of that distinction, that is the awakening of our spiritual identity, precedes recognizing our spiritual identity. That's the second thing. Now, the third thing is, it's just one verse. And what don't expect one verse is going to include everything, like Nam Rupa Guna Lila. Don't expect it. And it may be implicit, or maybe it's just a subdivision of a particular point that's not elaborated upon. But that's okay. The nature, in principle, the nature of absolute means there's no difference between the form and the name and the qualities. And so rather than saying it, it's just the nature of the absolute. So as one becomes acquainted with the nature of the absolute, then those things become distinct and revealed. But it doesn't have to say that in the first verse of Shikshastaka. It can be an understanding that an experienced person like you, or a scholarly person, would understand absolute means without having to say it each time. Absolute means there's no difference. So it's okay that he doesn't say it in Shikshastaka. And it's okay that Bhakti Siddhanta is emphasizing it. It's okay. It's just highlighting something, and then another is highlighting another something. And that's all part. So it's one of the beauties of Scripture is there are many. To see the whole picture helps. Those of us that are learning, we're students learning, we hear something over here, and that's like may capture our attention, and then ask, how does this over here fit in with that over there, fit in with, then you hear another something that you'd not heard before, because we don't have the big picture. We don't have grasp of the essence, what to speak of the big picture, with the details fitting in with other details. But by hearing and hearing and hearing over an extended period of time, the picture starts to become more complete. So when hearing something over here, don't expect all the puzzle pieces all the parts of the whole picture, the big picture, are going to be expressed. I know she's got something else she wants to say, but because I know Sneha Bali, she wants to, yeah, but, okay. Someone else. Wow, you just got here and you're right away running around with the microphone. He just arrived, like, as the class was beginning. Vaibo. Service-minded. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, you spoke about a few examples of devotees falling down because of familiarity, even after associating with Srila Prabhupada. So, what are the practical steps one needs
Respect. Respect is the check for familiarity. See, so I'm not, if I'm a practicing devotee, a sadhaka, and I know I'm less than perfect, and I'm in the presence of sadhu, I have to be cautious. I don't want to transgress just because I'm ignorant, or extend myself in a friendly manner and step on somebody's toes in the name of, I'm a friendly person. So be cautious, not overly cautious, but be cautious and be respectful. Primarily respect. And that respect is lost, then that's where the problem comes. So that's what to do, respect. And as Maharaj described, according to what's commensurate with the person's position. But always respect. Or respect even an ant. But, respect. Especially a devotee. And then those devotees that are sadhu-like, so forth. That's the prevention. The ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, they say. You've heard that one? So, be cautious.
I have another extension, follow-up. So for those of us who do not have so much of Vapu association with sadhus and spiritual master, so how do I understand? Do I look at it as...
How do you do what?
How do I look at it? Do I look at it as Krishna's protection, that I only get sadhus association at scheduled times, or spiritual masters association at scheduled times?
Well, there's all kinds, several points. There's Vaishnavas that are also representing, as Guru is representing, Vaishnavas are representing. So learn how to be respectful towards Vaishnavas, not just, somebody is way up there on the totem pole, but Vaishnavas. So here we are. We're in the assembly of many Vaishnavas, and many Vaishnavas are to be respected. Now, why? Because it's pleasing to Krishna. And I fail to respect, that's a kind of disrespect. Then there are degrees of disrespect, but fail to respect is a kind of disrespect. So, respect not just Guru, or take association and serve not just Guru. Some of us, I'm one of the us, did not have abundant association. I had some association with Prabhupada, but mainly Sankirtan, because that's what Prabhupada wanted, and service-minded people did what Prabhupada wanted. And off we went. And, without all the details, just dedicated to what Prabhupada wanted, because he wanted it. And when the opportunity came, association. And otherwise, association through instructions. And his books, the association through his books. I get a little story. One of the phases that many of us went through, I was one of many that went through. My base for a great number of years was in New York, and New Yorkers are a little proud, and we wanted to cover the United States, so we had multiple vans traveling all over the United States, not just New York. And we were so, this book distribution, Janardhan, Brajendra Nandana, we had a really good team. Rasaraj, we had a really good team of, 4 of us traveling in a van. And we emptied out the van real quick. So they would send us an air container, full of books from the BBT. And we'd go to the airport, pick up the books, and load up the van. And the van would waddle down the road initially because it was up to the ceiling. And there was the only room for us, because we were living very frugally, we slept in the van on top of the books. We didn't get a hotel room. That was, with the extravagant, we wouldn't do that. We slept in the van, even in the winter. And without all the details, we wouldn't spend money. We just sold books. So at a certain point in time, somebody, not in our party, but somebody wrote to Prabhupada, should we have deities? And Prabhupada's reply was, the books are your deities. So there we are, sleeping on our deities. Woo! But we worshiped the books. Literally, we didn't have an altar. We opened up a book, and there's Prabhupada, and then there's Lord Chaitanya, and we worshipped. At some point we had picture, so respect. Try living, for a year and a half out on the road with 4 guys. And see if you get along after a year and a half with 4 guys. With 4 anybody's. So without respect, you can't do it. You fall apart. Quarrel and everything. Personalities and desires and stuff. Okay, anyone else? Behind you, right behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. So I wanted to verify that I heard Bhagavatam class also and in your class also that Sambandha Jnana and devotional service can help us chant Shuddha Nam, and also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati
You're speaking too fast. Can you speak like half as fast?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
So I heard in Bhagavatam class today morning by Narsingha Maharaj, and in your class also, that Sambandha Jnana and devotional service, they help us to chant Shuddha Nama. And from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes, I understood that chanting the holy name of the Lord, devotional service refers to chant.
Now you're going fast again. Slow down.
Okay.
Slow down.
Devotional service refers to devotional service means chanting the rahasya part means the chanting the holy names of the Lord. That is the most confidential than a form of the devotional service. So can I practice, if I'm naturally inclined to chant more and read scriptures to develop Sambandha Gnana, can I do that more? And is it, I mean, just now Prabhu was giving mic, that's devotional service too. So if I'm not naturally inclined to engage in devotional service, like in physical activity, like doing
You're
DT
going
worship.
fast again. I
sorry.
want to be able to answer your question, but you have to be kind to me because I want to understand your question. And when you go fast, I can't understand your question.
Is it okay to be naturally inclined?
Is it okay to do what?
Naturally inclined
To be naturally inclined to do what?
to chant more and to read scriptures to understand Sambandha Gnana.
Fantastic. Then then please understand, read Prabhupada's books. Harikatha goes hand in hand with chant more rounds or chanting of the name. Harinam and Harikatha. Radha Krishna. Got it?
Yes.
So, in addition to what you said, make sure you're adequately, substantially reading. So your orientation, your alignment towards Sambandha again has the proper training wheels. You're heading in the right direction. You're not going to get off the road. What do you think? Is this response addressing your question or no?
Yes. Very much.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel guilty for not engaging in the activities like which include like DT worship or serving prasadam or something like which includes activity, like So
Fine.
that's fine.
This is on the category, from my perspective, it's in the category of time management. That is to say, this part of my day is chanting, and there's nothing else. I'm not planning my prasadam distribution that I'm going to do in the afternoon. When chanting, I'm present with the holy name. So then, are there other things that are important for me to spiritually grow? Let me be fully present when I do those things. I don't have to do this much, but if it's important, I'm going to do, and I'm going to be fully present when I'm doing, not distracted, planning and obsessing and worrying and lamenting and, be present
Thank you.
with things that are important. You decide and take guidance from those guiding what's important, and then, some degree, some time management, and off you go. And you can adjust as you move along. Okay.
Maharaj, is it possible somebody's spiritual body is a demon in the spiritual world?
Is there demons in the spiritual world?
Is is a person? Is it possible like our spiritual body, a person, somebody, his spiritual body is like a demon in the spiritual world? And how do I understand about the secondary rasa, like anger and the fear towards Krishna? These kind of rasas we heard in the spiritual world is full of blissness. So are these actually representing the negative emotions or not really?
I don't understand. It sounds like you're asking at least 3 questions.
Just 2 questions.
Just 2. Okay. Are there demons in the spiritual world? No.
No, that's not the question. The first question is it possible somebody, like a human in the material world, but his spiritual world, a devotee, his spiritual body is like a demon in the...
No.
No?
No. I mean, I'm not sure why you're asking this question either.
Because in the spiritual world, there are demons also.
No.
Huh?
What books are you reading?
Like people who fight with Krishna.
No, but that's not the spiritual world. Sorry, Charlie.
And how do we understand the rasas? Like,
Jai and Vijay descended to this realm because there's no one for one of the spirits of Vishnu is valor and chivalry, and there's nobody to combat with in the spiritual world, so they volunteered. If they didn't say, but if you so desire, we can go and do that service for you.
what about like demons like Putana, the Kali
But
snake?
when she went to the spiritual world, she gave up her Putana thing. She became just Mother Desoda's assistant. Yeah, but that's in this material world. Oh, in the spiritual world, playground, but not in inimical fashion, not in a demoniac fashion. Yeah, that's Brihad Bhagavatamrita. That's like 301 science. Yes, but not in an inimical fashion.
And how we understand the secondary rasa, like anger and fear towards Krishna.
It's in this realm. There's no fear in the spiritual realm.
But when we're talking about the secondary rasas in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it mentioned about these like seven
But they
secondary
exist.
rasas.
The fullness of you're using the microphone unfairly. Take the microphone from her. Read carefully about Bhakti Rasa. To understand Bhakti Rasa, Rupa Goswami spells it out very nicely. Now, everything, for starters, everything is within the source of everything. But not everything is exhibited externally in Vaikuntha or in Goloka. Like the parental there's parental affection, but not childhood motherly, fatherly affection, because there's no birth pastime. But so read carefully, and you'll find, although everything is within the source of everything, it's exhibited differently, and the pastimes in this world provide the source of everything, the facility for offering service of different kinds. She's really active, this little one. Okay. Now, I may not have satisfied you, but it seemed like we were going around and around. And here, do this. You show me some scriptural reference that contradicts what I just said, and we'll discuss. From Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or whatever, authorized source. Yes. Ananta Shesh, here we go.
Maharaj, may I request you to? My question is also on the quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the effaced quote. May I request you to display that slide?
Which one?
The distinction between I don't remember the whole quote, but chanting, the distinction is effaced.
Okay, sure. Okay, I'll get there. There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
So,
I'll read it. So that everyone can hear. Through chanting, the distinction that exists between the self and the gross and subtle bodies is gradually effaced. Now,
this is confusing. At the conditioned stage, I don't feel a distinction between the self and the body. I'm identifying with the body.
That's right.
And through chanting, I am anticipating the distinction to actually develop.
But there is a distinction, and this is my explanation of what he's saying, what he's writing. There are distinctions, but those distinctions become spiritualized, and thus the spiritual existence. This is the same discussion with Sri Radhika. You know, the self, and then the spirit. Her question had to do with the spiritual mind, and the spiritual mind and spiritual self and spiritual intelligence and spiritual form. The distinction no longer exists. There's a functional, identification, but not separate energies, layers of gross and subtle, or more subtle and more subtle, or more gross, more gross. It's everything becomes spiritualized. That's how to that's my understanding of what he's saying. The distinction that we make from Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 is no longer in effect, because it's not a covering anymore. It's the self that has different aspects to the self, but they're all spiritual.
Would it be right to say, the way I understand it is, the subtle body right now, it's explained that we say mind, intelligence, false ego, the distinction is by the function, but through spiritualization, all these are effaced, and
it's not just distinction by function. There's subtle and there's gross. There's more subtle, more subtle, more subtle. And from Sankhya, the more subtle permeates the gross. I'm sitting on ether. I'm sitting on a chair, but within the chair, within earth, there's ether. The subtle supports the more gross. There's layers of more subtle, more gross. And that distinction of not just function, but layers of covering is effaced on the spiritual platform. And therefore, there's a function that's functional difference, but they're all spiritual. That's the nature of the absolute. And I think you could ask your same question again a few more times, then you're going to get the same answer.
No, I was just going to say I have to chant more to realize that. So
Okay.
I'm happy with that. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. And read some scripture. That helps too. Swarup Shakti helps. Okay. Look at this. We're ready for, Manani, you'll have something?
So Guru Maharaj, on this slide, it says that it seems like it says subtle body become dissolved by the process of chanting the holy name. We also heard that simply by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, also our subtle body become dissolved, or the false ego become dissolved. So it's these two different anga of the bhakti. We heard that all the angas they are equal, but still we found it's Shravanam Kirtanam become so prominent in the Shastras. Could you explain more?
Explore more about hearing and chanting. It's the starting point of your question seems to be the holy name versus the Bhagavatam. It says this glory is the glory of the holy name. It says this glory is the glory of the Bhagavatam. And is that a contradiction? No, it's not a contradiction. Their spiritual sound and their auditory capacity to hear the spiritual sound is the same auditory capacity that acts on the consciousness or the soul self-identity.
So I mean, they are all the angas of bhakti. They are equal. Has the equal power to dissolve our false ego or the basement of our material existence.
Okay.
So why still we found that the chanting the holy name and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, they just they are given more importance
Then what?
than other angas. I mean, it's
Well, that's because that's the doorway. And then later on, other angas continued hearing and chanting. So let's say deity worship or prayer or the other activities. Hearing and chanting goes on. It's the doorway that starts. And then other avenues or other doors or other features of bhakti. Supposing one hasn't properly heard or chanted and tries to do deity worship. It's going to make a mess. And when one is doing deity worship, you're hearing and chanting along with the worship, parallel, side by side. Literally, devotees they're doing their deity worship and they got their headphones on. Or at least it's part of their life, hearing and chanting along with other activities. Does that answer your question?
yes, Guru Maharaj. I think as a neophyte, I think I'm very gross to think to take devotional service more like some action, but
More like an activity.
But the consciousness behind it seems like the consciousness we had depend on these two process of chanting and hearing.
Well, it's gradual. I mean, Maharaj covered this point in his class. It's in course of time, the effect is happening immediately, but it's gradual. And gradual. So how gradual? A lot depends upon the intention and faith behind the action. The faith in the sound and the origin of the sound. The teacher or Krishna as the supreme authority. And if one has adequate faith in Krishna as the supreme authority, then it's going to be more effective. Same activity. So how gradual depends on the source of the sound and the faith I have in that sound and the source of the sound. At different stages of spiritual development. Okay, guess what? It's time for Damodar Astaka. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.